Hope you guys are feeling nostalgic today, because today we're talking about the early 2000s. What up, guys? I'm JT Anime and Nerd coming at you with all that nerdy goodness. And today, in my latest segment, JT Anime and Reality, we are going to be talking about a nostalgic topic for Gen Z. I'm talking about the early 2000s. The early 2000s. Those were the days when Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, and Disney Channel were in their golden years. And back then, we got movies that didn't have bad writing. I hope that was okay to say. But a majority of movies didn't have bad writing. Because it feels like these days movies are just like not as top quality as they used to be. But the early 2000s, man, that was my childhood. The era where cable TV wasn't as bad as it was now. I still miss cable TV. I do. I would honestly prefer it more than streaming, and I'll tell you why. Having on demand used to feel great. Cable TV made it feel great, but now that everything is on demand, I don't know, it feels like the novelty is gone, and there's just something about sitting there in silence and trying to find something to watch after watching nearly all of everything I wanted to watch. I just found it draining, and I miss the years where I could just flip through channels and I wouldn't have to hear silence all the time. Now, granted, that might be my ADHD. I, for one, am not a big fan of silence. Like, I need noise. Even when I'm doing, like, homework, I need noise in the background. Silence just drives me crazy. But the early 2000s were, I think, the golden years of Gen Z. I mean, how many people remember, like, some of the cartoons? There was, like, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy on Cartoon Network, Jimmy Neutron on Nickelodeon, or even, who here remembers Cory in the House from Disney Channel? Which, honestly, I loved more than That's So Raven. That's just my opinion. Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. Who remembers that? I remember those were the years of, I had my two most favorite bands ever in the early 2000s is the Jonas Brothers and Big Time Rush. And we lived through the dark ages where they were broken up, and now they're both back together. I am so happy for that. The early 2000s was, I guess, what you could consider the pinnacle age of Gen Z. And now, everything just seems kind of gloomy, and can't really blame it, because with everything we've been going through these past many years and everything that's happening now in the world. Well, back in the early 2000s, it used to feel so much brighter. One thing that I'm sure not a lot of people agree with me is that this was during the height of YouTube, and this was back before technology took over the world, which, in my opinion, I think it advanced a little too much. Why? Because I want you guys to tell me in the comments section below how many of you guys just miss doing the things you used to do when you were a kid. I'm talking about all my Gen Z brothers and sisters out there. Do you guys spend so much hours on your phone inside with the game systems? And back when you were a kid, that was a great feeling. You used to just sit inside, do nothing, not caring about the world. But now most of us have pretty much reached adulthood. And now we got to worry about our futures. We got to worry about our income. I'm sure there are a lot of you out there whose parents are pushing them to that. I know mine are. But yeah, do you just remember those days back in those glorious early 2000s? Oh, back when rock and roll kind of made a big comeback. We had groups like Smash Mouth or Forever the Sickest Kids. It was the era of radical. It was like skateboards were awesome. Like Tony Hawk was at the height of his career. We had Johnny Knoxville. My God, I miss Johnny Knoxville and his crew so much. Can't say their name. I don't want to get the name of the team, the crew. Don't want to get demonetized. But oh my god, it was just so. Those were my glory years, guys. I'm sure they are yours too. What were your favorite memories back in the early 2000s? What were your favorite TV shows? What was your favorite kind of music? What were your favorite movies? I mean, in the early 2000s gave us Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, who was pretty much the blueprint for what the Marvel Cinematic Universe has become now. I cannot tell you how much I miss the early 2000s. And someone needs to invent a time machine because I want to go back to the early 2000s. You know what I miss airing on Cartoon Network? Ed and Nettie. Ed and Nettie is my favorite cartoon, and you can take that to the bank. Like, I will argue with anyone on the internet and argue with them that Ed and Nettie is the best cartoon on Cartoon Network. Or at least was the best cartoon on Cartoon Network, because they don't air it anymore. Although I did hear that recently, I think late at night or early mornings, they're starting to go retro again, which I am so happy. But the early 2000s were just incredible. I mean, what else in the early 2000s were at its height? Oh, Chuck E. Cheese. I remember my favorite version of Chuck E. Cheese is always gonna be his cool persona, where he's got the backwards hat and everything. Chuck E. Cheese was awesome to me back in the early 2000s. I miss going into the ball pit. It's through the jungle gym, and these days I can only play the arcade games, and I can't really go unless a younger person in my family has a birthday. Although I guess I could go on my birthday. I still love those arcade games. Power Rangers. The best era in Power Rangers history to me is the Disney Channel era. And my favorite Power Rangers season, Jungle Fury. Jungle Fury was on Jetix. Anyone remember Jetix? We had Digimon Data Squad, Yin Yang Yo. Again, Power Rangers Jungle Fury. I mean, that was kind of the era where cartoons from Canada was kind of a main staple. But now, look where cartoons are now. You know what's holding up Cartoon Network, which I really wish it wasn't? Teen Titans Go. Do not care for it. I hate Teen Titans Go with a vengeance. Why? Because you got all the original cast from the original Teen Titans series back. And what do? Instead of giving us another season, finishing Terra and Beast Boy's storyline, they instead give us a parody series, which, in one episode, I kid you not, they are shown the original version of their show, and even they are appalled that it was canceled in a cliffhanger like that. And they themselves wanted justice. Fun fact: there's also an episode where they wanted their own their version of a Snyder cut, but out of course in the end that episode kind of felt like insult to Zack Snyder, even though he was in it. But I digress. You know how they're kind of making animated versions of like Dr. Seuss stories these days. I think it's in Illumination who's been doing that. Back then, I know these days a lot of people seemingly kind of like hate those movies now, but I actually really enjoyed the live action Dr. Seuss movies. You got Cat in the Hat with Mike Myers, I'm sorry. You got The Grinch with Jim Carrey. I loved both of those movies, and I consider them classics to this day. There's also a lot of obscure and forgotten shows back from the early 2000s. Like, does anyone who watched Nickelodeon in the early 2000s remember Mr. Meaty or Tak and the Power of Juju? I love both shows. Mr. Meaty is one of my most favorite shows that I have to keep searching on the internet to find just to feel the nostalgia of those episodes. A lot of people will say Mr. Meaty was cringe. It was weird. That's exactly why I love it so much. It was freaking cringe, and I thought the comedy was on point. Now, were some aspects of the early 2000s that I sadly didn't get into until recently. Like, say, I didn't get into, I still haven't gotten into Ren and Stimpy. I don't know why. I'm just not a fan of Ren and Stimpy. I didn't get into Invader Zim until recently, which I regret to this day, because Invader Zim was awesome. There were even some kids shows that I kind of miss too. Aside from like Dora the Explorer or The Wiggles or stuff like that, there were some unique kid shows too. Like, anyone remember like the Doodle Bops or maybe Imagination Movers? I actually really enjoyed those shows, and I missed them. So you want to know two kid shows I actually miss that I'm sure some of you will probably judge me for out there, but I don't care. I miss Barney the Dinosaur, and I miss the Teletubbies. I don't care what anyone says. I miss those shows so much. They were my childhood, but I loved them growing up. There was like one episode of the Teletubbies that scared me. It had this little singing puppet in this pink house, and like it gave me nightmares for to this day. It gives me nightmares. I can't watch that an episode without being freaked or creeped out. There were so much of my childhood. Caillou was my childhood. Clifford, the big red dog, was my childhood. Like, you have no idea how excited I was when I saw that there was going to be a live-action Clifford the Big Red Dog movie. I was ecstatic. And I hear that they're making a live-action Barney the Dinosaur movie, and I am excited for that. You not believe how excited I am for that. I just, all these shows, all this stuff was my childhood, and the eras of PS1 and PS2 games. Back in the early 2000s, my jam was Dragon Ball Z and Yu-Gi-Oh! That was pretty much the height of those shows and even their games, because like my first Dragon Ball game I think was Budokai 2, and I love that game so much. I still have the disc, but my PlayStation 2 and my PlayStation 2 is busted. But yeah, and like Yu-Gi-Oh! You will not believe my Yu-Gi-Oh! Card collection. I remember how much I wanted a Blue Eyes White Dragon back when Yu-Gi-Oh! Started. The early 2000s was probably the best time of my life, and I'm sure it was definitely the best time of some of the lives you guys watching out there. Here, man, if there are any moments or things you love from the early 2000s, please don't hesitate to talk about it in the comments below. I would love to hear your guys' enthusiasm on what the early 2000s was like for you. I know I'm not alone on this, because the early 2000s were my jam. And like, oh man, Shrek. I can't tell you guys, that was the era of Shrek. How many of you out there still love Shrek and are excited for Shrek 5? I know I've been waiting a long time for Shrek 5. Because I did not like how the fourth movie ended the series. I just wasn't a fan of that whole alternate timeline thing. So I kind of hope the fifth movie rectifies that. What else? Oh, Transformers Armada, a Transformers anime. How many of you guys remember that series? Granted, I don't think I watched that series much, but I still loved it. I had the toy of Megatron, and I had a Skeletor and He-Man and figure. Or my dad got it for me. It was like back when the new rebooted show was on Cartoon Network. I had a Panther, or I don't ever remember what ever happened to those figures. My mom did make me sell a lot of my toys growing up. But, no, not sell. Give them away. You ever had those moments where your parents are just like, you have too many toys, so you gotta give them away? Come on. on. They're our toys. You may have paid for them with your money, but we're the ones still playing with them. We want them to stay there for our collection in the future. They could be worth something one day. But no, our parents just make us give them away. Hey, which has stayed with me to this day, and that is something I don't think I'll forgive her for. But I love her anyway. Yeah, the early 2000s were great, and actually in the early 2000s, I wasn't a big fan of anime back then. I know Yu Yu Hakusho was on Blood Plus, but like I never got into like the bigger mainstream anime on Toonami. Even One Piece, I didn't get into that back then because the only anime I really liked was Dragon Ball Z, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Pokemon. Those were like the big three back then. Not even Bleach. I didn't even see Bleach. I only ever saw one episode on Toonami, and it didn't captivate me. It was actually that episode where Yoruichi reveals herself in human form to Ichigo, and it was it was just so funny. But yeah, the early 2000s were what I could say the pinnacle of the Gen Z era, and I really hope there comes a time where we can see an era similar to that again, with so much positivity and brightness, and pretty much so much fun, so much incredible nostalgic fun. Comment down below what you guys love the most about the early 2000s. What's your most favorite memory? What's your favorite franchise or game or show, TV show from that era? Just anything in general you love about the early 2000s. Comment it down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, smash that subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell to be notified of the latest video. Also, don't forget to check out our merch store linked in the description and pinned comment and down below. With all that said and done, guys, I'm JT Anime, and I'll check you guys later.